Welcome to True Crime Story, the podcast where we delve into mysteries that captivate and confound. I'm Lucy, joined as always by my co-host, Brian.
Thanks, Lucy. We're thrilled to have you with us today for another episode of Criminal Intrigue and Suspense.
Today's episode takes us into the high-stakes world of art theft. We're calling it the Lost Valuable Painting, a case that shook the art community to its core and left investigators puzzled for months. Before we begin, I want to issue a content warning to our listeners. Today's story contains descriptions of criminal activity that some might find disturbing. As always, remember that our podcast is meant to inform and entertain, not to inspire. The actions described should never be replicated.
That's right, this is a tale of greed, deception, and ultimately justice. So get comfortable as we unravel the mystery of one of the most audacious art heists in recent memory. A priceless masterpiece vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but questions and suspects. Are you ready to dive in, Lucy?
Absolutely. Let's begin our journey into the lost valuable painting here on True Crime Story. The painting at the center of our story is Whispers of Eternity, a breathtaking masterpiece created in 1887 by the reclusive artist Elisabeth Valmont during the final year of her life. It's a haunting portrait that art critics have described as capturing the very essence of human fragility.
What makes this painting particularly remarkable is that Valmont created only 7 works in her entire lifetime, with Whispers of Eternity being her final and most celebrated piece. The oil painting measures just 24 by 30 inches, but its impact on the art world has been immeasurable.
The composition depicts a solitary figure standing at the edge of a misty cliff, with swirling colors that seem to blend reality and dream. Art historians believe it represents Valmont's own contemplation of mortality as she was suffering from a terminal illness while creating it.
The painting's provenance adds significantly to its value. After Valmont's death, it passed through the hands of European royalty before disappearing during World War II. It was presumed destroyed until it resurfaced at a small estate auction in 1978, where it was purchased for just $500, 0 cents. By someone who recognized its potential significance.
When authentication confirmed it was indeed Valmont's lost masterpiece, its value skyrocketed. At its last appraisal before the theft, Whispers of Eternity was valued at approximately $67 million, 0 cents, making it one of the most valuable paintings per square inch in the world.
Beyond its monetary value, the painting held immense cultural significance. It represented a pivotal moment in art history, the transition between romantic idealism and early modernism. Museums around the world had attempted to acquire it for their permanent collections.
The Metropolitan Museum in New York had been negotiating for years with its owner, the reclusive collector Dominic Hargrove, who finally agreed to loan it for a special exhibition. This high-profile display is what ultimately made it a target.
And that's what makes this theft so audacious. The criminals weren't just stealing canvas and paint, they were stealing a piece of history that can never truly be replaced.
It was Tuesday, November 12th, a cold, rainy morning in New York City, when Whispers of Eternity disappeared from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The painting had been on display for exactly 17 days as the centerpiece of the special exhibition Valmont, Visions Beyond Time.
The museum was equipped with what was considered state-of-the-art security at the time. Motion sensors, pressure-sensitive floor panels, and infrared beams surrounded the painting. 24-hour surveillance cameras covered every angle of the gallery, and security guards rotated positions every 30 minutes to maintain constant vigilance.
Despite these precautions, at approximately 3:17 IMN, something extraordinary happened. The security system experienced what was initially reported as a momentary power fluctuation lasting exactly 8 minutes and 42 seconds. When the systems came back online, everything appeared normal on the monitors.
It wasn't until 8:45 IMN when Jennifer Torres, the gallery's opening curator, entered the Valmont exhibition to perform her routine morning inspection that the shocking discovery was made. Where Whispers of Eternity had hung just hours before, was now an empty frame, the canvas expertly cut from its housing.
Jennifer immediately triggered the museum's silent alarm protocol. Within minutes, the entire building was locked down. All visitors and non-essential staff were escorted outside, and a full security team converged on the exhibition hall.
What baffled investigators from the outset was how clean the theft appeared to be. There were no fingerprints, no shoe prints, despite the rainy conditions outside, no evidence of forced entry into any access points, and surprisingly, no witnesses, despite the museum being in the heart of a city that famously never sleeps.
Even more perplexing, the security footage showed nothing unusual except for that brief period of darkness. Before and after the outage, the painting appeared perfectly intact in its frame. This suggested something truly troubling to investigators.
This wasn't just an opportunistic theft. The timing, the precision of the cut, the disabling of security systems, everything pointed to a meticulously planned operation by professionals who had intimate knowledge of the museum's security protocols.
When police interviewed head of security, Martin Reeves, his face went pale as he reviewed the logs. He told detectives, "This shouldn't be possible. The backup generator should have kicked in within 30 seconds of any power loss. Someone knew exactly what they were doing."
Within hours of the discovery, the Metropolitan Museum was swarming with NYPD detectives, FBI art crime specialists, and museum officials. The investigation was officially underway, and the pressure was mounting to recover one of the most valuable paintings in the world.
Detective Sarah Martinez from the NYPD's Major Case Squad took the lead. Her first order of business was to establish a timeline and interview everyone who had access to the gallery in the 48 hours before the theft.
One of the first interviews was with night security guard Frank Donovan, who had been stationed nearest to the Valmont exhibition during the critical hours. His testimony raised immediate red flags.
Frank claimed he'd performed his regular walkthrough at 3:05 a.m. EM, just minutes before the power fluctuation. But when pressed about what he observed, he became noticeably nervous, stating, "Everything was normal, completely normal. I didn't see anything unusual."
What made investigators suspicious was that Frank had called in sick the following day, something he hadn't done in over 3 years of employment at the museum. When detectives visited his apartment, neighbors reported hearing him leave with a suitcase around 5 a.m. that morning.
Another person of interest quickly emerged, Cassandra Weiss, a technical consultant who had upgraded the museum's security systems just 2 weeks before the exhibition opened. Records showed she had accessed the server room 3 times in the week leading up to the theft.
When questioned, Cassandra appeared genuinely shocked about the breach. "The system I installed had redundancies upon redundancies," she insisted. "The only way to bypass it would be with the master access codes, which only 2 people possess."
Those 2 people were Martin Reeves, the head of security we heard from earlier, and the museum's director, Dr. Elisabeth Harmon. Both were subjected to intense questioning, with investigators focusing on their financial records and recent communication.
Initial forensic analysis of the security logs revealed something even more concerning. The power outage wasn't the result of an external breach, but rather was triggered from within the museum's network using authenticated credentials.
An early theory developed that this might be an inside job, with someone on the museum staff working in coordination with professional art thieves. The FBI brought in specialists to develop profiles of everyone with access to the security systems.
Meanwhile, a review of recent visitors to the exhibition turned up another lead. Security footage showed a man in a dark coat visiting the gallery for 3 consecutive days before the theft, spending unusually long periods studying not the paintings, but the room layout and security camera positions.
Just as investigators thought they were zeroing in on their primary suspects, the case took a dramatic turn.
3 days into the investigation, an anonymous package arrived at the Metropolitan Museum's administrative office. Inside was a USB drive containing what appeared to be detailed blueprints of the museum's ventilation system, with handwritten notes marking potential entry points.
Even more shocking, the package contained a single white glove with traces of the special conservation-grade paint used to restore the stolen Valmont just 6 months earlier. The message was clear: whoever sent this was either involved or knew intimate details about the theft.
The FBI traced the package to a mail center in Brooklyn, but security footage had been conveniently erased for the time frame when it would have been dropped off. But here's where things get truly bizarre. Frank Donovan, the security guard who had disappeared, was found at his sister's house in Albany. His explanation floored investigators.
He claimed he had been approached 3 weeks before the theft by someone claiming to be from the museum's insurance company. This person paid him $5,000, 0 cents, just to provide information about shift changes and security protocols.
"I never thought they were planning a theft," Frank told detectives through tears. "They said they were testing security weaknesses for a policy renewal. I believed them because they knew things only someone from inside would know."
This revelation shifted suspicion directly to Cassandra Weiss, the security consultant. When agents searched her apartment, they didn't find the painting, but they did discover something equally incriminating.
Hidden inside a hollowed-out book was a flash drive containing what appeared to be early drafts of the museum's security upgrade plans, with deliberate vulnerabilities built into the system.
But the most shocking development came when investigators received an anonymous tip to check the recent outgoing international flights. Someone matching the description of Dr. Elisabeth Harmon, the museum's own director, had boarded a private plane to Switzerland just hours after the theft was discovered.
What made this especially suspicious was that Dr. Harmon had told investigators she was at a medical appointment during that time. The threads of this case were unraveling in the most unexpected ways.
After weeks of investigation and following the money trail that led through 3 different shell companies, authorities finally caught a break in the case.
Swiss banking records revealed that Dr. Elisabeth Harmon had been quietly accumulating massive debt over the past 5 years. Gambling debts that had reached nearly $4 million, 0 cents. It appeared our esteemed museum director had a secret life that was catching up with her.
The FBI, working with Interpol, tracked Dr. Harmon to a small villa outside of Geneva. When they raided the property, they found her with Cassandra Weiss, the security consultant who had deliberately designed flaws into the museum system.
What they didn't find, however, was the painting. By the time authorities closed in, the Valmont had already been moved again, this time to a private collector in Dubai who had paid $18 million, 0 cents, for the stolen masterpiece, knowing full well it was stolen.
When questioned, Dr. Harmon finally broke down and confessed to orchestrating the entire theft. Her gambling addiction had left her desperate, and with her connections in the art world, she knew exactly how to move a painting on the black market.
The most fascinating part was how meticulously she had planned it all. She hired Cassandra under the guise of upgrading security while actually creating weaknesses. She manipulated Frank Donovan with a false story about insurance testing. Even the mysterious package with the USB drive was her own misdirection to buy more time.
Dr. Harmon was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison for art theft, conspiracy, and wire fraud. Cassandra Weiss received 8 years for her role as accomplice, while Frank Donovan was given a reduced sentence of 18 months in exchange for his cooperation.
As for the Valmont itself, after intense diplomatic pressure and a complex operation involving Interpol and the FBI art crime team, the painting was finally recovered from the Dubai collector's private vault 15 months after the theft.
The painting returned to the Metropolitan Museum with much fanfare, though now displayed behind significantly enhanced security measures. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The museum security had indeed been upgraded, just not in the way they had originally planned.
The case reshaped museum security protocols worldwide. Many institutions began implementing regular background checks on high-level employees with access to valuable collections, and dual authorization requirements for security modifications.
In her only interview from prison, Dr. Harmon stated simply, "Art was my life's passion. In the end, it became the instrument of my downfall." The ripple effects of the Valmont theft extended far beyond the walls of the Metropolitan Museum. The art world was fundamentally shaken by the betrayal from within.
Absolutely, Lucy. This case exposed a vulnerability that many museums hadn't properly addressed. When we trust experts to protect our cultural treasures, we rarely consider they might be the very people planning to steal them.
It's prompted a complete overhaul in how museums approach security. Background checks have become more rigorous. Security protocols now require multiple levels of authorization, and many institutions have implemented psychological evaluations for employees with access to high-value pieces.
What's particularly significant is how this case changed the perception of the insider threat. Museums worldwide began implementing rotating security teams and compartmentalizing access to valuable collections.
The insurance industry transformed as well. Premiums for art institutions skyrocketed initially, forcing museums to invest even more heavily in security infrastructure or risk being dropped by their carriers.
I think what fascinates me most about this case is how it revealed the complex psychology behind art theft. Dr. Harmon wasn't just stealing for financial gain. There was an element of betrayal of her own passion.
You're right. She dedicated her life to preserving artistic heritage, only to become its predator when personal demons took over. It's a stark reminder that even the most dedicated protectors can become threats when desperation sets in.
The recovery itself became a case study in international cooperation. It required coordination between law enforcement agencies across 3 continents, and ultimately changed how stolen art is tracked globally.
And let's not forget the technological advancements that emerged from this case. Many museums now employ AI-driven security systems that can detect unusual behavior patterns among staff and visitors alike.
The Valmont case will be studied for generations as a turning point in museum security, a harsh lesson that sometimes the greatest threats come from those we trust the most.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of True Crime Story. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the fascinating case of the lost valuable painting.
We really appreciate you tuning in and spending time with us today. Before we go, I want to make it absolutely clear that this has been a fictional account crafted for entertainment purposes only. The story, characters, and events you heard are not based on real people or incidents.
That's right. We create these stories to explore the psychological aspects of crime and the investigative process, but we strongly discourage anyone from engaging in any of the criminal activities depicted in our episodes.
We hope these stories provide entertainment while also prompting reflection on the complexities of human behavior and the importance of protecting our cultural treasures.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, you're in for a treat next week when we'll be exploring the Midnight Casino Heist, a daring robbery that unfolds during a high-stakes poker tournament with some truly unexpected players.
It's one of my favorite cases we've covered so far, with twists that even I didn't see coming. Until then, this is Lucy
and Brian signing off from True Crime Story. Stay curious, but always stay on the right side of the law.
Goodbye, everyone.